Hey guys, welcome to the channel. The tier list video did really well, and I got a lot of your comments, and basically, they were garbage, and I'm always right, and I cannot be wrong. So today I'm actually gonna go over why you guys are all wrong, and I am right all the time and incapable of being wrong. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. Anyway, thank you guys so much for the support on that tier list video. It did really well, and I'm really happy about it. So much love your way. Subs, likes, comments, and they mean the world to me. And with those comments, this video is actually going to be an analysis of what I got wrong, and I'm going to provide examples of testing, both in the simulacrum and in survival missions, or whatever game mode I decide to test in, and to prove myself wrong, but also to educate you guys. Because if me with $3,700 got some stuff wrong, it's pretty likely that other players are either wrong about something or just ignorant to something, just don't know about it. So I want to expose some cool tech to you guys, and at least just own up to my mistakes, because I made some mistakes out of just like a little bit of ignorance, or in some cases like Null Star. A lot of people commented on that one. A lot of ignorance. So yeah, I had some bad opinions, and we're gonna just kind of look at exactly what I was smoking when I made that tier list, because allegedly it wasn't that bad. Less cooked takes than the average slop tuber. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that one. Appreciate that comment. But so that's what this video is. This is going to be me going over what I got wrong with testing, evidence, and some commentary. First, I want to lay ground rules, and these rules were implicit in the last video in the tier list, but they are explicit now. I'm making them explicit so you understand. It is important that I don't include or don't weigh as heavily Helminth abilities where they're really specifically strong on one or two warframes. That's just not enough to move really high. I have to weigh that less. Like Mag with Smite, for example. Insane build, but it doesn't make Smite that much crazier of an ability, right? Because it's just on one frame, right? Is it good? Did I underrate it? Yes, and we'll go over that. But I just wanted to explain that. Likewise, investment is important. So I don't expect, especially right now, due to its time-gated nature, I don't expect a lot of players to have Arcane Hotshot. And a big case for Null Star, which is where I was the most wrong, don't get me wrong, was with Arcane Hotshot. And I can't weigh that heavily, because right now it costs me like my left kidney, and I don't want to cough that up. And I think a lot of players don't want to either. It's also acquired, Null Star is acquired very early in the game, while Arcane Hotshot is acquired very late, and so like I need to weigh it a little bit differently. So yeah, the less, I don't want to weigh any like finagling, any kind of like crazy adjustments you have to make, having to put on Arcane Arachne, blah, blah, blah. Like that's, I'll still like contribute to its strength and rate it that way, but I'm not going to weigh it as heavily as I'd like to. So, in order of importance, Null Star, I messed up big time. We're going to go over that. I'm going to go over Decoy, I think I underrated as well. Smite, Marked for Death, and Charinka Pillar. And anything else, if it's not in the script, I'll just add it after. But the real most important thing is actually Master Summons. There's apparently like this Lua spy exploit that you can do. I don't know if it's bannable. I doubt it. I'm not really sure. And a big thing, a lot of people left this comment, but my favorite one was Boofhead711. Thank you, buddy. I didn't have a Moa pet since the making of that video. I made one. I waited the day to make it just for you, Mr. Boofhead7111. And I named it. I named my Moa after you. So, Boofhead, you are now immortalized into my account. And thanks. Master Summons is going into Z tier. God bless. And okay, I'm just joking. Let's get started with Null Star. So to start, I'm moving Null Star from C tier, which again I messed up, to A tier. A little bit of explanation. First, I'm going to do my demonstration with Labos, because for some reason Valence Formation works on the Null Star. So we'll queue up gas here, because I think that's been the strongest for my experimenting, but that could just be anecdotal. So yeah, I'm sitting here with my okay, well it's like 5 minutes in the video, so I can't say what I have in my hand, but I have metaphorically I have something in my hand that would lead you to the conclusion that I'm not doing anything, and these enemies are just falling over. And the speed at which they fall over kind of varies a little bit. But I can recast, it sends them back out. And this ability that's killing everything also, this would be giving me 75% DR. This would be refreshing my Arcane Hotshot if I were to be using it, right? Again, I can't weigh that too heavily.
Now granted, I'm running Mecha Labos, so like whether the Mecha set procs or not is pretty relevant. But yeah, you can recast it, so like a little bit of shield gains possible. A couple of things that keep it out of S tier. And again, I could easily be convinced that it's S tier. I easily could be. A few things, right? So we're comparing this almost directly to Eclipse. Range heavily affects the effectiveness of this ability, I would say. And like for good or bad is totally up to you. Again, the range can be good, especially if you're trying to hit, CC as many people as possible, stack Arcane Hotshot as fast as possible. But likewise, when range is low, it means you can't do that. When range is low, it's easier to keep the damage reduction, but it's harder to get the orbs out. So it's a little bit finicky, I think. I don't think it's a bad thing, but it's nowhere near as straight up as Eclipse for the same value of DR. Eclipse also, obviously, it's not the most useful thing anymore, but it's got its damage amp version that you could turn on. But overall, I think I really misrated Null Star. So, conclusion, from C to A, I think is totally fair. Could easily be convinced to S, but it's just got a little bit, it's a little less consistent. Got a little more caveats built in, quite reliant on the augment to do a lot of what makes it strong. I tested it on Gyre and Lavos. Those were the two I tested on in terms of like, shield gating or shield tanking, health tanking. It worked both on really well on both. And yeah, I messed up big time on Null Star for sure. So now we're going to take a look at two options here that I've moved. Decoy, moving from B to A, and same with Marked for Death, from B to A. Now granted, that is on the Helminth exclusive tier list, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, I think one major thing I forgot about with Decoy. First of all, let's like watch it in action real quick. Because even though like you kind of know how damage Decoy works, so he's going to absorb like a bunch of resistances from the people around him, but these guys are all just falling over. And you'll see that the stack of 13 over in the upper right hand there is Arcane Impetus. I'm basically guaranteed a full max rank Arcane Impetus on cast of this ability, almost right away. And that's whatever 13 times 6 is for ability strength, which is like 78, I believe. And then 36% or 39%? Whatever. Ability efficiency. That is like, imagine if that was in a mod, right? That is like absolutely insane. That's one major thing. First of all, you saw the Decoy, I casted the one ability, everything died. Granted, my companion helped a lot, sure. And this isn't like a perfect build or anything. This is just me experimenting with something. But yeah, I forgot about Arcane Impetus. And so damage Decoy not only helps, but okay, it also helps with survivability. Decoy in general helps with survivability, because in the same way, like I put Resonator in S tier, for example, because of its survivability stuff it's got going on. Decoy does a very similar thing, not as convenient as Resonator, I'm not gonna lie, but still incredibly convenient, while also providing an offensive utility, which Resonator doesn't apply, while also giving you, again, that insane Arcane Impetus stat line. So yeah, I underrated Decoy like massively. I do think that the testing I've done here was ample in the simulacrum. I don't think I have to do survival for that one. And we're going to look at Marked for Death as well. So Marked for Death I put in B tier. And this is one of the harder A tiers I can give, but it does work. So we'll repause the AI here. And the way Marked for Death works is it'll redistribute damage dealt to a target. The problem is only the next instance. So if I miss a headshot, which is, this is embarrassing, it's kind of easy to do, because for some reason the target insists on doing this goofy animation when I try to land a headshot on him. Also, if any other, like, say you've got other guns or like a companion, it seems that can also trigger the Marked for Death. So the wrong thing will get spread, which is pretty annoying. But yeah, so I'll cast it here. Like, that's not bad. That's actually quite good. So yeah, I think I really underplayed Decoy really hard, actually. Like, you really could make a case for S in that regard as well. But Marked for Death, I feel honestly, I kind of want to keep. If there was a B+, that's where I'd pop it. But I think A is totally valid. Same with the Trinity build, which I guess I could show you right now. It has some inconsistency issues that made me kind of not want to display it, to be totally honest. But here, I can give it a try and see if it works. Again, it has to do a lot with kind of the nature. Okay, it worked. Oh, perfectly. Okay, so yeah, if you guys aren't familiar with that build, that's the Mark for Death. Basically, Energy Vampire deals a percentage of the target's health as true damage, and then that would distribute out with Mark for Death and nuke an entire area. That's with a pretty suboptimal build. We use Abating Link, the augment. Here's the build. In order to shred the armor off of the enemies, so when they take the damage, they actually fall over and die. You're supposed to target the tankier enemies. The problem with Mark for Death is generally that you're gonna want to like pick priority targets, and Warframe is not always conducive to that kind of gameplay. You really kind of just want to indiscriminately fire your guns wherever, and Mark for Death's nature of being only on the next damage ideal to it is problematic, to say the least. But I think if you are masterful with it, both mechanically and in the way that you structure your build, you know, Mark for Death can be better than I really let on. So appreciate your patience with that one. I think that was, again, the Arcane Impetus thing I can't stress enough with Decoy. Loki's very easy to get a copy of. I strongly recommend you give it a try. So next we have Smite, which admittedly I could have done a whole lot of a better job testing with, but basically, again, I mentioned this, it feels like if I can't, with like 5 or so minutes of finagling, if I can't get the outcome that I think I should be looking for, then it's probably not worth it. Likewise, Smite works similar with Marked for Death in that it really relies on the initial target's health. So as you get to higher and higher content, it becomes stronger and stronger. In the Simulacrum, it's just not the most reliable testing method, but I also, the playstyle is just incredibly boring to me. So we have Arachne, which is like pretty much the bare minimum, but and then Sentient Wrath, which is just damage vulnerability. And you just spam cast Smite on a tanky target. Now, again, this is like with a pretty suboptimal setup. Also, like, the reason I chose Caliban is because I could use the augment to give my my summons radiation damage, which I thought would be really helpful. So, like, it's not bad. Likewise, so you're just gonna hurt your fingers eventually. Like, this is your outcome with very minimal investment. So I am convinced, and I've seen with my own eyes, that's actually very possible with priming and a couple other damage buffs to get a Smite spam build. It's not that hard. However, it's still more work than I'd like to put in, you know, when our competition is like Thermal Sunder, right? That's kind of my big problem. One advantage is that it's nice for shield gating because you're spam casting a low cost ability, so you're able to get the shield gating more often. The augment radiation's a pretty good damage type, I believe, still to this day, so not too bad. But I'm not going to put it as high as Null Star. I'm going to move that up from C tier to B tier. I think it's totally acceptable. If you love Smite and you want to make it work, you absolutely can. It is more than possible. It's just going to be a little bit exhausting. And it looks pretty cool. Again, you can see gameplay of people really making it work, but I refuse to put it in the same, you know, tier as Null Star, which just got way more immediate and observable positive outcomes. But yeah, Smite's definitely made workable for sure, and I fumbled up quite a little bit. Not as bad as Null Star, nowhere near, but I definitely would like to move it up to B tier. It's very workable. And next we have Chirinka Pillar. So this one I underrated a little bit. I'm going to be moving that from C up to B. It actually is quite good. And I will say it's really good on frames who can't really project themselves on the map very hard, while also not being able to massacre entire maps. Like, you can make the case that Saren has great map control, but Saren just murders everything. Valwan has great map control, but like, he just controls them. And that's kind of what we're looking at here. Being able to place down 3 Chirinka pillars, and I'll show here. These enemies are unpaused, they're kind of scary, but I'm able to cover a pretty insane amount of ground. Or is it 2 pillars? Yeah, it's 2 pillars, okay. So I can put the 2 pillars down here. And I have no resistance, no overguard, not much DR. This guy's being kind of an asshole. But like with a little bit of movement, I can kind of just sit around. And it kind of falls in the same camp as one moment. Kind of falls in the same camp as Decoy and Resonator, what actually does a pretty good job. The difference being, it's actually kind of nice that you can be in 3 places at once. Again, Interception, a notably kind of annoying game type for people who don't have friends, like myself. Charin Capillar gives you the ability to play those game types and cover more of the map and manipulate spawns more effectively. Also, it looks very cool. Like I kind of wish this was like a thing I could pull out on my gear wheel. I would really like that. Look how cool that looks. And so yeah, that wraps up Charin Capillar. So here we have the tier list post any changes we've made. Again, that's Smite and Charin Capillar going from C to B. Nullstar and Decoy going from C to R. Decoy goes from B to A. Nullstar from C to A. Nullstar was my biggest fumble, and I learned so much from it. The augment reliance with Nullstar and Decoy keep them in A, while Eclipse is kind of the competition for Nullstar. Decoy is quite unique in what it does, but you know it's got some competition with Resonator and Eclipse in its own unique way. So, and Gloom, quite frankly, depending on how your perspective is, and Pillage, quite frankly, depending again on kind of how your perspective of how these line up. So, if there were any changes I would make, and any more experiments I want to do if I wasn't crunched for time, rather, I'd probably look into Omamori, Reeve, I think, and that would probably be it. Those are the main ones. I think B is a pretty inoffensive tier where it can kind of be like, you know, personal preference, right? What is good investment to you? What is small investment to you? Totally subjective, and I think that's totally okay. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this tier list. I don't see any further adjustments. If you want further adjustments, leave them in the comments. I won't be making another video like this, unfortunately, as fun as it is to churn out slop sometimes. If you guys enjoyed this concept, please let me know. I think it was really fun. I want to engage with my community a lot. That's kind of my goal here. I don't expect to grow a massive channel, but with the people that are here, I aim to entertain and be close with you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed. Another idea I had was doing viewer builds, so having you guys leave your builds, because you guys had like some pretty cool ideas. Compiling some viewer builds into like a video, maybe 20-minute video, and just showing off some cool stuff, maybe how I would tweak it or whatever, what I learned from your build. So if that's something that interests you, please put it in the comments. I think it's a pretty solid idea that I'd like to execute on at some point. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Again, if you're still upset at me, totally fine. Yell at me in the comments. I can take it. No big deal. But thank you so much for watching. So much love. Thank you for all the support on that video, and hopefully this was something you enjoyed. If not, also leave a comment there and let me know that you hate it, because I won't make any more. No worries. But anyway, so much love. Thank you guys again for all the interaction, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.